Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it's Wednesday, September 13th, 2023, day 567 of Vladimir Putin's genocidal lunatic invasion of the country, the sovereign nation of Ukraine. And there's a lot of talk today about the Airbus that was forced to land inside of Russia yesterday. And I've been having a talk with my new buddy Scott here. I hope I can say that, Scott, about this incident and what's being reported in the press. And I want to address Scott's comment here about it because it's a perfectly reasonable comment. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. Scott says that, we're talking about these different theories about what happened. And he says Airbus will be involved as they need to know if there's a defect in their aircraft along with the engine manufacturers. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. Any other country in the world, he would be right. We know that that's what happens. When a plane has trouble, the manufacturers get involved. That's what we call the international rules-based order. The problem is that Russia doesn't have any interest in the international rules-based order, as they have demonstrated very, very clearly. When Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to say it just like this, when Vladimir Putin packed 6 kilos of C4 into a refrigerator and then put it on Yevgeny Prigozhin's plane, you don't think he called the Brazilians in and let them investigate that crash, do you? No, he did not. And it's not going to happen here either. And it's not going to happen here either because from what we know, the early reporting on this thing, the plane contacted the tower at Novosibirsk. They had been in the air for some time. They were cruising at an altitude of about 30,000 feet. The landing gear, because of a hydraulics issue, had failed to retract. That drag on the plane caused the plane to start running out of fuel. He burned up all the fuel. And so they had to make this emergency landing. That is apparently what happened. Now, the most common reason why hydraulics fail like that is a failure of maintenance. It's the most common reason, right? Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is generally the right one. But now what we see is that the trolls are out in force, manufacturing stories and trying to distract from this. Why? Because it's evidence that the sanctions are having an effect. That's why. It's evidence that the sanctions inside of Russia are creating pressures that are going to result in innocent people dying, that are going to result in long lines at the gas station. They're out of diesel from Kursk to Kamchatka. That's a problem. So, Scott, I agree with you. In a rational world, dealing with rational actors, what you say here is absolutely right, and that's what would happen, and we'd all get a good answer. I'll bet you American money that Airbus is kindly told to fuck off, and that there will be no independent international investigation. That would be my guess. Now, further to that, here's what I would suggest we can learn from Scott's response. In the West, we do not understand Russia. We keep thinking that we can reason with them. We keep thinking that they can be a partner. We keep thinking, look, we don't understand the Russians. I don't understand the Russians. Although living here in Kyiv, I'm starting to. What I definitely think is that the Ukrainians understand the Russians. So what we got to do is we got to trust the Ukrainians and support the Ukrainians in this thing and let them handle this whole thing over here because they get it. And they're the ones whose sovereignty, whose freedom, whose lives are on the line. Not ours. Not ours. So, Scott, I hope that seems reasonable to you. I think that your comments were reasonable. I don't think that they were out of line. But I do think that they expose a naivety among Western audiences that Russia is a partner we can deal with. They are not. And that should be increasingly clear to all of us, or we will remain blind to the danger that they represent to us. And right now, that danger is being expressed against the Ukrainian people in a way that everybody can see. Thanks, pal.